Only one particular type of person manages to outlast a narcissist, and it is almost never who you would guess. The people who appear to be the strongest often crumble while they are in the trenches trying to fight a battle they cannot win. Those who possess truly perfect boundaries usually identify the danger and walk away long before any deep, lasting damage can take root. The psychologist Carl Jung once noted that the unconscious mind makes its choices long before our conscious mind can actually understand the reasons why. A narcissist does not form bonds by accident. They carefully tune themselves to a specific nervous system and a specific history of inner strength that aligns perfectly with their own unresolved issues, much like a key sliding into a lock. But here's the detail that almost nobody ever mentions. The survivor is not necessarily the calmest person in the room, nor are they the one who spends the most time deep in thought. The survivor is the lonely one who possesses a unique and powerful ability to eventually transform the narcissist's poison into their own personal strength. This explains why you were chosen, not as a random victim, but as a candidate for a profound and difficult transformation. Stay with me until the end, because the specific trait that initially pulled them toward you is the exact tool that will eventually be used to break their control over your life. You were picked by the narcissist because your early years taught you how to tolerate and accept things that other people would immediately identify as unacceptable and reject. The narcissist does not choose a partner based on true love or a genuine human connection. They choose based entirely on usefulness. They are always hunting for a specific purpose. When they scan a room or browse through a social media app, they are not looking for the most successful or the most wealthy person they can find. They are looking for the person who has the largest capacity for emotional labor. They are looking for you. But why you? What did you reveal that sent the signal for them to move in and begin their work? You unknowingly displayed the small, hidden signs of someone who carries old, unhealed scars. Specifically, you showed the scars of the protector. Carl Jung noted that our unconscious mind reveals itself to the world through our daily automatic behaviors. You might truly believe that you are simply being kind, caring, or a supportive listener. However, to a narcissist, your behavior communicates something much deeper. It demonstrates that you are wired to prioritize the needs of others over your own perception of reality. This training usually begins early in childhood. If you were raised in an environment where the adults were emotionally unavailable, moody, or physically distant, you had to adapt to survive. You quickly realized that in order to stay safe, you had to make yourself useful. You learned to constantly read the room. You learned to watch the faces of your parents to see if they were feeling angry or sad, and you instinctively changed your behavior to fix their feelings. If they were angry, you became quiet and invisible. If they were sad, you became the helper and the entertainer. This is a survival tactic commonly known as fawning. It is the sophisticated ability to ignore your own safety instincts and instead become helpful to the very source of the threat. You learned that the only way to handle chaos was to absorb it and try to fix it. Imagine a young child watching their mother acting frustrated and agitated around the house. Their sibling might run away to find safety, but this child moves toward her, offering help, making jokes, and trying to change the mood. By the age of 8, they already understand that calming someone else down is the only reliable path to safety. Decades later, the narcissist sees that same exact reflex in you immediately. This scar always reveals itself later in life, often during moments that seem small and insignificant. Imagine you are on a first date. The waiter makes a mistake with the order. The person you are with makes a mean, slightly angry comment toward the staff. A person with no history of this kind of trauma would feel a sense of discomfort right away. They would see this sudden anger as a significant warning sign. They might even speak up to say that the comment was unnecessary, or they might decide right then and there that there will not be a second date. They see the behavior for what it is. But you do not see it as bad. You immediately start making excuses for them. You think to yourself that maybe they had a hard day at work, maybe they are just very particular about their food. You tell yourself that you should help them relax. You smile, you change the conversation, and you try your hardest to melt the tension. You take the emotional weight of their bad behavior and place it firmly onto your own shoulders. The narcissist sees this reaction, and in that moment, they know they have found their target. They see that you did not ask for the respect you deserved. Instead, you tried to fix the situation for them. They realize that you are a person who will work tirelessly to earn their approval, even when they have done nothing to deserve it. They see a partner who is accustomed to walking on eggshells. This is exactly why they picked you. They need a container. The narcissist carries a massive load of inner shame and internal mess, but they completely refuse to feel any of it. They need a partner who will feel it for them. They need someone who will worry when they are gone, who will cry when they are cold, and who will endlessly attempt to fix their disasters. They need you to carry their dark side. You were chosen because you are an expert at enduring. You possess an amazing talent for tolerating pain. You can go weeks without having your own needs met, and you will still stay. You can be insulted, and you will still try to bridge the gap. You can be ignored, and you will still try to find a way to make a connection. To the narcissist, this does not look like love. It looks like a resource. What they never understood is that the very same scar that made you easy for them to use is the exact scar that eventually makes you impossible to destroy. Your ability to last was never a flaw. It was armor disguised as love. They chose you because of your wound, but you will outlast them because of your hidden power. Here is the part that hurts to admit but must be seen clearly. Your empathy, your warmth, and your patience were turned into weapons against you. These are good traits, but without boundaries, they become dangerous. The narcissist did not fall in love with who you are as a person. They fell in love with your trauma response. They saw a person who would never quit no matter how toxic the situation became because that person believes that love is the same thing as suffering. But seeing this clearly is the first step to breaking the cycle. This is not a badge of honor. It is a sign that you are repeating a struggle that started long before they entered your life. You are trying to save them in the same way you wished you could have saved your parents. You are trying to be good enough to finally be loved. The narcissist depends on you staying blind to this reality. They want you to think that you are simply a kind person, but you are not just kind. You are trained to put others first even when it destroys you. And training can be undone. This is why only one type of person outlasts them. It is not the strongest person, but the one who was trained to carry what would have destroyed anyone else. If you felt something move deep inside you while hearing this, if you feel a hidden truth coming into the light, join this journey now. Become part of a group based on insight, awareness, and the kind of growth that actually lasts. In the next part, you will see the next reason why survivors stay. It is the hidden biological magnet that makes danger feel strangely familiar. You learned that love is something you have to fight for. You learned that it comes with high stress. You learned that closeness is always followed by leaving. So, when you meet a narcissist and they start the cycle of giving you too much attention followed by slowly pulling away, your body reacts. It knows the pattern well. It tells you that you understand this dynamic and you know how to handle this. The tension you feel in your stomach, the butterflies, and the stress you experience is not true excitement. It is fear. But because you have confused fear with passion for so long, you move toward it instead of running in the opposite direction. It always starts quietly, almost without notice. You start dating someone new for 3 weeks. They message you every single morning. They share songs with you. They tell you that you are the most amazing person they have ever met. You feel a massive high. Your brain is flooded with dopamine. Then suddenly, on a Tuesday, they do not message you at all. You wait, you send a note. They answer 6 hours later with a single word. A person with a healthy attachment style would see this and think that it is rude or that the person seems unstable, and they would quickly lose interest. They would feel pushed away by the coldness. But you do not feel pushed away. You feel activated. Your heart begins racing. You check your phone every few minutes. You look at old messages to see if you said something wrong. You start performing. You try to be funnier, more lighthearted, and more interesting just to win them back. The removal of their warmth triggers a survival drive in you. You are chasing the dopamine rush. You are chasing the relief of them finally coming back to you. The narcissist naturally knows this. They operate on a reward schedule that constantly changes, which is what behavioral science calls intermittent reinforcement. This is the most addictive form of training known to researchers. It is the same logic that makes gambling so incredibly addictive. If a slot machine gave a payout every single time you pulled the handle, you would eventually get bored and walk away. If it never gave a payout, you would stop playing immediately. But if it gives a payout sometimes, unexpectedly, you will sit there until you have lost absolutely everything. The narcissist is the slot machine. They give you moments of high validation, which is the win, followed by long periods of coldness or bad treatment, which is the loss. You stay because you are always waiting for the next win. You convince yourself that the nice version of them is the real version and the mean version is just a temporary mistake. You tell yourself that if you can just be patient enough, the person from the start will come back to you. Carl Jung called this the urge to repeat. It is the unconscious drive to return to the source of our first trauma in a desperate effort to finally fix it. You are essentially projecting your childhood needs onto the narcissist. You are clinging to the hope that this time, the emotionally distant person will finally become available to you. You are hoping that this time, you will be worthy enough to make them stay. You are not just in a relationship with another person, you are in a bond with your own personal history. This is exactly why you feel like you cannot leave, even when your own eyes see that they are lying to you. Your logical mind clearly sees the truth, but your emotional brain is stuck in a repetitive loop. You have become chemically dependent on that exhausting cycle of extreme stress followed by temporary relief. The peace that comes with a healthy bond feels boring to you because it lacks that intense chemical spike. You mistake the lack of drama for a lack of genuine chemistry. This realization is painful, but it is absolutely necessary. You have to stop calling it passion and start calling it what it truly is, which is a state of severe imbalance. You must admit that the magnetic pull you feel is not fate. It is just a glitch in your survival software. You are trying to find water in a stone because you were taught early on that stones are the only place where water comes from. The narcissist is not your soulmate. They are a mirror reflecting your own unhealed scars. They fit perfectly into the empty spaces left over from your childhood, but they do not actually fill those spaces. Instead, they just make them bigger. The moment you accept that this familiar feeling is actually a major warning sign, you begin to break the spell. You start to see that the anxiety you feel is your body desperately telling you to leave, rather than begging you to stay. You realize that you have been surviving on pure hope, the hope that you can rewrite your past by suffering through your present. If you have ever felt your body holding on tight to someone who is clearly hurting you, take a moment to acknowledge that feeling. It is the exact moment your nervous system stops mistaking terror for love. In the next part, you will find out what happens when your nervous system finally stops confusing fear for love, and how that specific moment starts, the change that ends their power over you. Waking up begins the moment your survival reflex stops protecting the narcissist and starts protecting you, and that shift changes the entire dynamic. There is a common belief that the goal of the narcissist is to destroy you, and while it is true that they tire you out, the reality is that the narcissist actually depends on your survival. They do not want to break you so completely that you cannot function anymore, because then you would be entirely useless to them. They want you to remain in a state of pause, functioning just enough to serve their needs, but remaining too empty and drained to ever leave them. The narcissist makes a massive mistake, though. They underestimate the very strength they have been using. They assume that because you have accepted their poor treatment for years, you will continue to accept it forever. They do not realize that for the type of person who outlasts a narcissist, there is a hard psychological line that eventually gets crossed. There is a specific moment where the survival mechanism changes its focus. This is the moment of real transformation. Sometimes it happens in the smallest, most quiet instance. You might be driving home after another long fight, and you suddenly feel a deep, silent tiredness. It is the kind of exhaustion that settles deep into your bones. There are no tears, no panic, just a calm reality rising inside you that says you cannot go on like this anymore. This change rarely feels like a scene from a movie. It feels undeniable. This awakening rarely happens during the high tension of an argument. It almost always happens in total silence. It happens when you are driving home from work and you feel a wave of exhaustion so deep it feels like it is in your bones. It happens when you watch them sleeping and instead of feeling love or annoyance, you feel absolutely nothing. You look at the person who has ruled your emotions for years and suddenly they look small. They look entirely ordinary. Carl Jung described the process of becoming yourself as the long journey of finding out who you really are. He believed that this often requires a complete breaking down of the fake self you have built. The bond with the narcissist forces this breaking down to happen. You have tried every single way to make it work. You have tried to be the perfect partner. You have tried to be the healer, you have tried to be the protector, and you have finally realized that none of it worked. You reach a point of ego death. The part of you that needed their approval to exist simply dies away. You realize that no matter what you do, they will never truly see you. You realize that their promises about getting better are just words used to buy themselves more time. And in this realization, the fear of losing them completely vanishes. You are replaced by a deep understanding. You realize that you are losing yourself, and that is the only loss you cannot accept. The shift shows up in moments like this. It is a Friday night. They start a fight just like they have 100 times before. They accuse you of being selfish because you want to visit your family. In the past, you would have joined in the chaos. You would have cried. You would have defended yourself. You would have canceled your plans just to show your loyalty. But this time, something is different. You hear their words, but they do not hurt. You see their anger, but you do not feel scared. You see the manipulation trick clearly. They are trying to make you feel guilty so that you will stay home and take care of them. You see the mechanics of it all, just like watching the gears of a clock. And because you see it, you do not react to it. You simply say that you understand they feel that way, and you continue packing your bag. This is the exact moment you switch from being the target to being the watcher. The narcissist depends on your emotional reaction to feed their sense of power. When you stop reacting and when you stop trying to explain yourself, you are signaling that you have disconnected from their reality. You have effectively left the game. This awakening is often accompanied by a deep sense of flatness or detachment. Do not be scared by this. Jung taught that depression is often a necessary drop into the unconscious. It is your mind forcing you to stop. Your tiredness is telling you that the old way of living is no longer possible for you. It is forcing you to take back your energy from the outside world, from the narcissist, and bring it back into yourself. You are not detached because you are broken. You are detached because you are exhausted from holding up a lie. You are exhausted from trying to make a broken person whole. You are exhausted from betraying your own gut feelings day after day. When you finally admit to yourself that you cannot live like this anymore, you are not admitting defeat. You are declaring your freedom. You are stating that the cost of the bond is higher than the value. You are realizing that you are alone in the bond and that you have always been alone. But instead of this scaring you, it sets you free. If you are already alone, then you have nothing left to lose by leaving. The survivor outlasts them because they eventually realize that the bond is not a safety net, it is an anchor. And the same strength that kept you holding onto that anchor for so long is the exact power you will use to cut the rope. Your shift shakes the narcissist because it removes the one thing their entire reality depends on, which is your emotional involvement. When you switch from being a player in their drama to a watcher of the mechanics, you break the basic operation of the entire bond. Their breakdown begins with one reality. It was never your love they needed. It was your energy. They do not need your love in the way healthy people do. They need your life force. This energy, often called narcissistic supply, is any form of attention that proves their existence and stabilizes their fragile self-worth. This supply comes in two forms, and they are equally valuable to the narcissist. Positive supply is your admiration, your compliments, and your warmth. Negative supply is your anger, your tears, and your frustration. If they can make you smile, they feel powerful. But if they can make you shout, cry, or lose sleep, they feel even more powerful. Your strong emotional response proves to them that they exist, that they matter, and that they rule your internal state. But when you wake up, you stop responding. You enter a state of neutrality. You stop explaining yourself because you realize they are fully committed to misunderstanding you. You stop defending yourself because you know the claims they make are just made up. You stop fighting for the bond because you realize there is no bond left to fight for. You simply exist in the space, feeling neutral and calm. This neutrality is a complete disaster to the narcissist. It breaks their ability to manage their own internal tension. Carl Jung described the idea of psychic energy as a vital force that moves between people. When you pull back your attention, you are physically pulling back your psychic life force from their system. They feel this loss deeply. They feel the empty space where your devotion used to be. When the narcissist feels this shift, and they will feel it instantly, they will panic because they cannot handle themselves. They will cycle through a predictable set of moves to try and force a reaction out of you. You need to memorize these moves so you can watch them happen without joining in. First, they will usually try to restart the cycle with charm. This is known as hoovering. They will suddenly become the person you fell for years ago. They will be kind, attentive, and magnetic. They might buy gifts, suggest a trip, or apologize for things they did months ago. They are trying to cause amnesia in you. They want you to ignore the bad treatment and focus on the fantasy. But because you have woken up, you will see this kindness for what it is, which is a trade. It is a bribe meant to buy your obedience. If the charm does not work, they will switch immediately to guilt. They will play the victim. They will say you have changed, that you are cold, or that you are leaving them when they need you most. They might fake a sickness or a crisis to trigger your protective reflex. They are trying to use your empathy against you, but the observer in you will see that their suffering is just an act. If guilt fails, they will turn to anger. This is a scare tactic. They will attack your character, your looks, or your skills. They want to start a fight because a fight means you are still connected, but you will not fight. You will remain steady. You will give them short, factual answers. This non-reaction breaks their illusion of power.